All right, call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Director Assad Lucas.
Here.
Director Battistelli.
Here.
Director Goldstein.
Here.
Director Marsh-Holshin. Director Potter.
Here.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second.
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Okay, rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Superintendent update?
Thank you. I'll just highlight the two things that are most on my mind right now. One I briefly mentioned to the Board of Education as we are finishing up work study, but I'll just take a few minutes to share here too. Very grave concerns for our community and for lots of school districts throughout the state about where we might land if Governor Polis's proposal to eliminate enrollment averaging for funding purposes moves forward. If that happens, districts like ours that see some fairly consistent declines in enrollment in recent years because people are having fewer children and people are often getting priced out of living in our community because it's really costly. We're seeing declining enrollment here. That's true of most of our state. I believe 4/5 of the school districts in Colorado are declining in terms of how many kids they serve. It's especially intense in this metro area where the housing costs are most extreme. And if this were to go through, we would lose over $13 million in funding for next year, which is obviously a significant amount of money. If you think about paying an average teacher $100,000 a year between their salary and benefits, that would be 130 plus teachers that would be in play. And don't hear me saying that we're going to cut 130 teachers if that happens. We'll do everything in our power not to. But we're at a spot because we're not a very well-resourced district. We don't have the same kind of revenues that a lot of the districts around our region have that have more high-value properties and people with higher incomes. We're near the bottom in terms of funding already, along with 27J next door. And we can ill afford another $13 million loss in revenue in terms of having the resources we need to serve the kids that I think we're all here to talk about tonight. So actively on my mind and looking at ways every day to figure out how to lobby effectively on behalf of Adams 12 with parents and staff throughout our community and with others in other districts to send the message that this will have real impacts on what we do to meet the needs of children next year if it goes through. So that's a big piece. The other thing that I think a lot about, and it's more on the exciting end, but it's also complicated, is we're looking to acquire all the right land parcels so that we can construct our newly re-envisioned Thornton High School on Bowman campus down on the southeast part of our community. Those who are there know that the current configuration, when you have like huge slopes and lots of buildings that are, Thornton High School proper has 5 different levels to it. There's lots of places that are dark. To make that school what we want it to be, we need to do lots of grading and moving of things around so that kids in that new school will have a bright, beautiful school that's much more conducive to learning, and there's some adjacent land that we need to get to make that happen. A little bit trickier than I want it to be, but we will work at it, and I'm optimistic that we will get that done soon. So those are the big things. Beyond that, I think board members know we're heading into the time of year that's the busiest. We do have budget preparation. That's a big part of the spring, and it's hard to do when you don't know how much money you're going to get or not get from the state. And then we do have this year probably a larger number than in some years of retirements and key leadership positions and principalships that we're posting and looking to hire good people. So if any people in the audience are looking for a new challenge and opportunity, check out our website. We'd love to have you take a look and see if you're a good fit for us. That's it for me for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, Board of Education comments, recognition, awards, and vision. Start with Courtney.
Thank you, President Goldstein. I want to start by saying I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. There was lots of excitement going on through the community. I know we had plenty of students that were recognized for awards or had academic success or were just excited to make it through their first quarter in general. And you know, I was really fortunate to kind of see all of the community spirit throughout Adams 12. There was lots of involvement through the community, and it makes me feel good when you see so many of our Adams 12 staff and family members getting involved. I want to take a second and recognize Stargate Charter School. They celebrated their 30-year anniversary over the weekend. They did receive a proclamation from the city of Thornton on their 30 years, and so I want to congratulate them. I was able to attend that celebration with Vice President Amir Assad Lucas, and it was just another joyous occasion. Other than that, I hope that everyone stays safe, and when the new calendar comes out, that you remember that the calendar committee does not include any of us on there. Maybe Mr. Godowski, but that really, there's always a lot of feelings about it, but truly I don't think anyone was thinking about anything but what is best for the students and families and trying to balance it all. So we're excited for that to get released, and I'm excited to see some of the bond projects getting underway. We learned a little bit about what is to come and kind of the way they spread it out across the district, so everyone felt like they were getting some love, including our charter schools, and I really appreciate that effort. So thank you to our staff that made sure that every part of our district was getting some attention and not waiting until 2030. And with that, I will pass baton on to Ms. Battistelli.
Okay, Paula?
I was sitting here trying to remember everything that I needed to report on since last time we did this. So I think last time I said I was about to attend a STEM lab problem-based learning panel, and I did, and it was fabulous. I think it was 5th grade kiddos were presenting ideas on getting 18-year-olds more civically engaged, 18 to 24-year-olds more civically engaged in our community. And they had some wonderful ideas. A lot of it was gamification, so I think they knew their audience. But if you've never taken part in a problem-based learning opportunity, STEM Lab has them. STEM Launch has them, North Glen High School. It's a great way to see what's going on in schools. So yeah, I highly encourage it. The other thing, I did not know Stargate just celebrated their 30th anniversary. That's wonderful to hear. So my congratulations go out to them as well. On this past Saturday, I attended the middle and high school honors band performances. They were absolutely exquisite, and I've attended formal orchestras before, but these were just phenomenal. I mean, really, they have recordings available if you're really interested in hearing it, and I would highly recommend it. One guy they brought out, they call them color instruments, and they brought out a bass clarinet. This thing was, I think, 12 feet long. The guy had to be 6 foot himself, so they had to put him on a little stand so he could play it, but I mean, he played it beautifully. So I really enjoyed doing that. And one thing I will note, the theme of that performance was the need to continue supporting the arts in our schools. And I wholeheartedly support that theme. In fact, one of the performances they played to kick it off was, I think a music educator in Ohio wrote a composition. And the night it was performed, the first night it was performed, was the very night that Ohio district had decided to cancel funding for the band. So the band was no longer, but so anyway, it was very poignant and it was beautiful, and it just was a reiteration of how important the arts are to our kids in our community. Last thing, I think there's a couple of adequacy studies that came out that I think the public should be aware of, because basically they say, our public schools in Colorado at large are very underfunded, to the tune of about, I think one study said 3.2 billion, another study said about 4.1 billion. So if you're not aware, I encourage people to get out there and learn more about how funding in Colorado works for schools. I think we rank 46 in the nation, so yeah. But I think Adams 12 does a good job of making lemonade out of lemons, right? So that's my report.
Paula, can I just jump in out of order? Would that be okay? And I'm going to look to Gina a little bit. But if the state had $4 billion more, we'll just use that number around math that they're allocating to K-12, my belief is that we typically get about 4% to 5% of what the total pie is for K-12 education. So at 4% of $4 billion, my quick in the head math is that would be another $160 million a year that we would be receiving here. 5% would take us to $200 million a year. It's at $200 million a year, it's almost a 50% increase over what we currently have. So I think it just gives people a great insight about objectively, we, when it comes to adequate funding, we are so far behind other states and so far beyond what other places are doing to reasonably support kids in their learning. And then to have the governor proposing a $13 million plus reduction for us for next year and really ignoring all of what Director Battistelli just shared is just heartbreaking. So I just wanted to add that. There's just a lot of money that we already don't receive, and we can't afford to let go of a single dollar beyond that.
Good point. Amira?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here tonight. Hope everyone had a wonderful winter break and holiday season, and Happy New Year. So it has been a busy start. On the 8th, the IBS team continued from work from the previous semester to continue, working and negotiating and ensuring best outcomes for kids. On Friday, the 10th, I attended the Parent Leadership Action Network, which is also PLAN, at STEM Lab, and we were talking, it's been about, I think, 10 years now that PLAN has been a group here in the district, and it continues to be a great opportunity for parent leaders in the variety of PTO, PTAs in the schools to come together and talk and collaborate. So it's really great to be a part of that. On Saturday the 11th, as Director Potter shared, got to attend the 30th anniversary of Stargate, and it was a privilege to be able to be there and speak. And I just want to give a shout out and recognition to Dr. Green and all the work that she has done for Stargate, and especially with Choice Exceptional Learners and just the growth that you brought to Stargate. So she's here in the audience in the back. So thank you. Yesterday, I got to go to Century for the middle school principal meeting. Kristen Vollmer, who's the principal over there, invited me. And I have a sixth grader who attends. And so yeah, I got to be more of a passive observer of the meeting, but we got to go into classrooms and monitor some strategies that they've been implementing to track or to collect data to track best practices in education. And what I really appreciated about this opportunity is, again, be more of the passive observer, is watch the relationship, the professional relationships amongst all the middle school principals, and how many of them, we have a very large variety of middle school, who attends middle school and populations, and they just work so well together and have such great relationships and will bounce ideas off of one another and collaborate so beautifully. And I left Century reflecting on how I've had many opportunities to witness interactions very similar to this throughout our system, and so I just really appreciate and honored to be a part of a system that focuses on putting kids first and ensuring best outcomes for them. So I just want to highlight a couple events coming up. The Special Education Advisory Meeting will be on Thursday, February 6th, from 5:30 to 7:30 here at the district building. And this is, if you're not aware of these meetings, it's a really great opportunity to meet other parents, ask questions if your child has an IEP, 504, get clarification if you're new to it, even if you're a veteran, and there might be modifications to the plan or update, whatever the case may be, or if you need to, asking. It's just a really great place to network with other parents that, in the same boat. I've been a part of it for a while, as I've had 2 children on IEPs for years now. There will be food served and childcare. And then lastly, I want to share the upcoming powwow event that's going to be hosted by APAC, which will be Saturday, February 15th at STEM Launch. And if you're not familiar with this event, it's a really, really exciting event, and I highly recommend attending. Not only will you get to watch traditional and ceremonial dances, but there's a variety of vendors and food that will be served. So it's a really fun all-day event, and great for families and everyone. So yeah, that's all I have. Thanks everyone for coming tonight, and I hope everyone has a great week.
Thank you. I hope everybody had a nice holiday. My family and I did. We produced a new driver. That doesn't cause stress. Actually, he's doing really well because his dad's taking care of it. I did let him drive from his friend's house to our house, a couple blocks, and I survived. Okay, well, anyway. So I'll be focusing on that, I'm sure, in the next couple of months. I went to Horizon High School last week early to deliver an award to a young lady for her artwork that she submitted to the Colorado Association of School Boards. At their annual convention, she was honored, and she couldn't make it there, so I accepted the award for her, and so I went over there to Horizon, and the principal, Erica Fleeman, and Clay Stansberry and I gave her award. And her teacher, she had gone to Mountain Range previously, so Kyle Wimmer, her teacher over at Mountain Range, had nominated her for that. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the Stargate celebration. I had a board meeting for the Colorado Association of School Boards, which I'm a member of. Other than that, we had bargaining, and I'm looking forward to a semester where you go see all kinds of cool things going on in the district. And I just want to add to the conversation about school funding and how disappointing it is that we do what we need to do for our children with what little that we get. But just think of all the opportunities that we could be missing because of the lack of appropriate funding. And I just have to put it out there, but we have $1 billion surplus that we have to refund to the voters. Other than that, that's all I'm going to comment on now. Now it's time for general public comment to comment.
Good evening. The board welcomes public comment to learn about the preferences and concerns of the Adams 12 5-star community. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Please use the microphone and state your name and city of residence before beginning your comments. Please give any handouts or information you would like to share with the board to Lee Coca here to my right. A 3-minute timer will be set for each speaker. Please keep an eye on the timer. Speakers will be informed when the time has expired, and we ask that you end your comments at that time. Our first speaker tonight will be Maribel Cervantes.
You guys hear me? All right. Hello, my name is Maribel Cervantes from Commerce City, and I am proud to serve as the post-secondary coordinator at the New America School. This institution holds a special place in my heart, not only because I work there, but also because I am an alumni just like my husband. Both my husband and I experienced a pivotal moment in our lives when we were in need of a second chance, and we found that opportunity at the New America School in Thornton. It became much more than just a school for us, and it transformed into a light of hope during a challenging time. The support and encouragement we received were instrumental in helping us rebuild our lives. I began my journey with the New America School in 2015, taking on various roles over the years, sometimes stepping away due to personal reasons, particularly related to my husband's career in the Navy. However, my commitment to the school has never wavered. As a teen mother, I was fortunate to receive a second chance at the New America School. Unlike my previous experiences where I felt judged for my decisions, here at the New America School, I was embraced and encouraged. The staff helped me believe in myself even when I struggled to see my own potential. This unforgettable experience inspired me to return and work at the very place that had given me a new start and a much-needed opportunity to tap into all of my potential. I am dedicated to providing students with the same support and guidance that I received as a student. I understand the challenges they face, and I want to be the source of encouragement for them. My husband has always been, has always been one of my greatest supporters in my career. And it fills me with pride to be part of the journey of the students at the New America School, students who remind me of who I once was. Together, we are creating a community where hope and opportunity flourish, and I am honored to play a role in shaping the futures of our amazing students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Loretta Sutherland.
Okay, how about, I can talk loud, but they said to use the mic. My name's Loretta Sutherland, and I live in Arvada. I am probably the newest member for New America Schools Thornton, and I was really just very honored to be asked to come and talk on their behalf. I have been teaching for a long time, a little over 30 years, and I've been in every capacity I can think of, from pre-K to high school. I taught general ed, I did self-contained, I did inclusion, I did all the different ways that you can teach. And after a while, although I still loved students, I really thought maybe I needed to make a change. So I retired from general ed and got my special ed endorsement. I'd had my master's in specials for a long time, so I knew that it was a population I wanted to try to meet. Anyway, when you put your special ed endorsement out there, people come to you. And I don't know if Myra and Michelle know this, because I don't know if I told you, but the day that I interviewed with you, I had 4 interviews. I actually had 9 that week. I also had 9 offers. But when I was sitting there talking to Myra and Michelle, their passion just exudes from them. Their smiles were so welcoming. They felt so sincere. And I guess at this point in my life, I needed them. I needed you just as much as you needed me. So I said yes and told everybody else no. And I am so grateful. This school has a special feeling. I feel very different than the population of students that I'm working with, but I feel extremely accepted, respected, maybe even a little admired. They seem to think I know more than I do. But I'm working with them, and they are working with me. These are students who really want to be there and be successful. And the cooperation of the staff and the support and the encouragement, it's just a wonderful place to be. In my own personal life, I happen to be having a hard time right now, and I really look forward to coming to school. It's really great. The kids are wonderful. I love my teammates, and I'm just super grateful. So thank you. Maybe I'll stick around another 30 years. Thanks.
Thank you, Loretta.
Our next speaker is Joshua Abernathy.
Can you hear me? I'm Joshua. The New America School is a place where diverse and opportunity come together to create a unique and learning environment. The school is dedicated to providing education tailored to the needs of students from various backgrounds, including those who are new to the country. With the focus of personalized learning and support, the New America School helps students achieve their academic goals while also preparing them for future success. The inclusive atmosphere and dedicated staff make it a welcoming place for all the students to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.
Our next speaker is Xavier Garcia.
In the future, I
Hello?
think we just need to have a mic attendant at the podium for public comment.
Hello, my name is Xavier. I attend New America High School. I like my school because it offers a unique and diverse learning environment that encourages critical thinking and creativity. The teachers are passionate and very dedicated to all of us, always pushing us to explore new ideas. Our school also provides a wide range of extracurricular activities, allowing our students to develop our interests and talents outside of school. Overall, New America gives a sense of community and prepares us all for this successful future. Sorry, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Xavier.
Our next speaker is Jade Castaneda.
Hello. Okay. Hello, my name is Jade Castaneda. I came to New America for a better education environment. Not only that, with them having the CB program really helped me. Knowing I have a great support team of teachers, now I'm able to continue my education further, knowing I'll have my diploma this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jade.
Jade, can I ask you one quick question? Did you talk about like a CV program, or what was the name of the program that you said? CB, what does that stand for? Got it. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Evelyn Trulos. Okay, moving on to Randy Braley.
No? Okay. I'm Dr. Randy Braley. I live in Arvada, Colorado. I thank you, Superintendent Godowski, and the esteemed board for allowing us to be here this evening. I was here 2 years ago, also with my friend, the starfish, and some of you remember the story that I shared then was a parable relating to the student body, and I will reference that same parable on my own behalf this evening. I would begin by letting you know that I represent all three campuses as their school psychologist. So I'm privileged to be out of the Lakewood campus on Tuesdays, the Thornton campus on Wednesdays, and on Thursdays I'm in Aurora. And most days I'm aware of where it is that I'm supposed to be, and I usually appear. Sometimes in the past I've been in the wrong campus on the wrong day, and I've been helped to understand that. As I think about it, I've been with the New America school system for 13 years. And God willing, and if the creek doesn't rise, I'll be there even longer. And this year will be my 75th year in December. So I continue to be a part of an incredible team. And I would say that the way in which I have been able to experience the supportive staff and the nurturing environment that is the New America campus at Thornton was underscored during the November of 2023. And it was the date that my mother passed. She was 91 years old. She passed on the 14th. And she was playing Scrabble until her final 2 weeks, and then she was in hospice care. And for those of you that play Scrabble, you would know that her having scored 91 with a bonus of 50 points for a 7-letter word was pretty impressive for a 90-year-old mother. So I inherited some of her love of the game, but not necessarily her expertise. So my experience that November was even more damaging to me professionally and personally, because 12 days later, after my mother passed away in hospice in home, my wife died, and that was on the 26th of November. And that sent me reeling, as you would well understand. And so it was a trying time for me, and moving through my grief and my losses, I could not have done it without the benefit of the team at New America. And I thank you, Myra, I thank you, Michelle, and even Santiago, for the way in which you allowed me to continue to move forward at a pace that I could sustain. And I'm accustomed to being the person providing encouragement and support and being an exhorter of others, but this was an opportunity for me to realize the benefit of how others can be there on my own behalf. So that's where it is that the starfish story comes in as a parable. It's about a young boy who throws starfish back into the ocean after a storm. This story is often used to illustrate how small actions can make a big difference. Well, for me, I was that starfish. And I teach and I preach to the students the benefit of having a support system. And without that support system, I wouldn't have been able to move through. So this past holiday was the first holiday season without my mother and my wife. But the benefit that I realized from being a psychologist in the schools is what gives me purpose, and it's part of my existential meaning and fulfillment. So again, if they don't change the locks, I'll keep coming back. So I'm thankful for that, and I can only express my gratitude anew and realize how proud I am of the team that I'm a part of and the privilege that's mine to continue to return. And so I thank you for that, and thank you for letting me speak before you again. This is 2 years after the last time I was here, so it's good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Our next speaker is, let's say, Ramos.
Hello. Okay. My name is Alexi Ramos. I'm from Henderson, Colorado. I am a new student at New America this year. They gave me an opportunity that most schools did not give me. They gave me a, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. They gave me a chance at a school where they teach you way differently at a pace that you can learn better. I didn't get that chance at my old school. At my old school, if you didn't get it, you didn't get it. At this school, they help you to understand it. They stay with you after class to help you better understand what you didn't get during the class time. If you have any other questions, you can stay after school. Most schools don't allow you to stay after school. And they have a very, I don't know how to say it, but a very caring system. They have their pride and joy against each and every student. If you have questions, you want to do anything else, you can go to them and they'll try to get you what you need in a timely manner. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexi.
Our next speaker is David Rodriguez.
Good evening. Thank you all very much for this opportunity. My goodness, I stand in support of the New America School. My name is David Rodriguez. I am a mathematics teacher, and I also teach music appreciation there at the school. I'm really excited to be here. Like Loretta, real quickly, I just want to say great job, Alexi, Xavier. You guys all did a really, really wonderful job. I wanted to say thank you. A lot like Loretta, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to teach at the New America School. I myself, way back when, am an Adams 12 kid. I went to Hillcrest Elementary School back in the day. I've been teaching for about 25 years now. I've taught in Mapleton and Denver Public Schools, at the University of Colorado, in BVSD. And just when I thought, oh gosh, I'm in the twilight of my teaching career and that I had seen it all, I came across this very unique opportunity, a unique population of students. Like, wow. And I came across Myra and Michelle and Santiago, and I just can't believe on a day-to-day basis, I've been with the school for about a year and a half now, and on a day-to-day basis, I am constantly motivated and inspired. You know, it's one thing to say, I try and honor my students, and I try and learn more about pedagogy each and every day. And then it's another thing to be immersed in it and to really, really feel yourself growing. And one thing that I wanted to make sure that I said was thank you to Myra and Michelle, who very much model the exact support that I try and want to model for my students. I think you've heard it expressed in a couple of different ways, just what a godsend it is to work for this organization of educators. It's small, but the love is powerful. And ultimately, I think that I've learned is that's what teaching is all about. It's your ability to express your, like, the truest form of love for another human being. And so I've learned a lot. I continue to learn a lot. It's it's Wednesday, and I almost can't wait to get back into class tomorrow. We've got a lot of things grooving in music appreciation, and we've got an assessment going on in algebra tomorrow that I cannot wait to see the results, right, of all of this.
Sir,
and
your
I would
time has
be
expired.
Thank you. And I wouldn't be able to do it if I weren't feeling so supported constantly and consistently by my peers at the New America School here in Thornton. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Our next speaker is Andres Alonso.
Hello. Okay, well, thank you for having the opportunity for us to do this public speaking. Thank you for the students that came in. Really appreciate that. I know it takes a lot. I know that you meet a lot of people, hundreds, maybe thousands, but I was one of the first teachers that got hired to help out where the New America needed help. And during the process, it has been an experience. Like anybody else, we move forward, like Mr. Rodriguez was saying. You get challenged. Sometimes you feel like, oh, okay, is this the right place for me? But then you see you hear the stories of the students succeeding, and you hear of how they're overcoming and how we're just a small part of their big dreams. I do believe that during all this process, even the accountability group that went in to meet us, it has been something of an experience because there is a high standard. There is that bar we have to reach. And I do believe that we continue to reach that bar every day more and more, because our heart's in it, but also we need to have logic with it. And I do believe under the guidance that Adams 12 continues to give us, and the resources and the accountability part, and even anything from our PD to our superintendent to our admin team to pour into us, we continue to serve the students here that come in years behind and try to catch them up to that level of graduation status. To us, that's a big reward. So thank you for bringing that to us. Thank you for challenging us to be better as not just people, but as educators. And that really just make an impact on the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andres.
And our final speaker is Veronica Ramos.
Good evening. My name is Veronica Ramos. I'm from Henderson, and I am the mother of Alexia Ramos. I'm sorry if I mumble, or you don't understand what I'm saying. I didn't know I was going to be speaking today, but they offered me the opportunity, and I hopped on the opportunity because this school has made a drastic change in my daughter. Having 4 kids, I've been through Denver Public Schools, Aurora, Henderson schools, and none of my children have received the support that my daughter has received at New America School. She went from being a student that had lost all hope in herself. And as parents, you can only do so much to tell them that they're smart, that they're intelligent, that they got this, that they can do good in life. But sometimes you need it from somebody else. And as parents, when I drop off my kids at school, I'm relying on the teachers and the staff to do their job. New America staff and teachers have exceeded my expectations, and I speak from 4 different kids that have been through school from K to seniors. And she's by far, she went from D's and F's at other schools where I would go to parent-teacher conferences, and basically if she didn't understand the assignment, they would tell me this is what there is, and she gets it fine. If she doesn't, she's too bad. She loves this school so much that she's very antisocial. She's willing to go that extra mile for this school, to speak out in public, to help out this school, because that's how much this school means to her. New America has become a second family for my daughter. Sometimes I feel she doesn't even want to come home, which I don't blame her because she feels comfortable. Mr. Rodriguez, along with all the other teachers and staff, have made her welcome, have made her believe. And she's now planning on going to college, which is something she didn't have planned anymore. So I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. As a single mom, that's one less thing I have to stress on a daily basis. And if this helps for New America to continue, she is not the only one that we have in our family. We actually had her uncle come from out of state and be a New America graduate. So that's how we learn about New America. And I am glad and honored to help in everything and anything that I can as a parent of somebody that has drastically changed. And they have made her change her perspective in herself and have encouraged to give it 100% and more when she can. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Veronica. Okay, thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and speaking. There's some good, heartfelt stories there. All right, board committee liaison reports. Dak, anything to report?
We did have a meeting last Wednesday, and they discussed a lot of the highlights for the past year for the District Accountability Committee. You know, they've done a lot of good things, and some of those things include doubling their membership, which broadens our reach to different schools and their SACs, which is a wonderful thing to see. I think they're also still asking some questions about how to better understand that relationship between the district accountability committees and the school accountability committees. And tonight, I won't go into this too much, but they'll be presenting on their discussions and their visits with the New America School. So That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there a FAC report?
I was unable to attend the last FAC meeting, and my counterpart that also serves on the liaison is not here tonight.
Okay, thanks. LRPAC met before winter break, and we had a little different. When I was we all went to the Colorado Association of School Boards conference in December, and there's a lot of vendors there, and I don't know if I mentioned this at the last meeting, but there were a lot of construction folks in the vendors, and they saw that I was from Adams 12, and they gravitated toward me because we had just passed our bond, and we're rebuilding Thornton High School. And not that board members really have a say in all that kind of stuff, but a woman from one of the architect firms came up to me and gave me this book. And it was a children's book called What Would You Do with a Chance? It's beautifully illustrated, everything. And I had thought, well, this is really a cool thing to maybe read at LRPAC. So I talked to Molly, and we figured out how to make it so that I could read it, and I didn't have to show everybody. We had it projected on the screen. And it really struck a great conversation because we are rebuilding a school in an area of our district that has not always gotten new and shiny things. And so now that part of our community is going to get something new and shiny. And it's going to be an amazing opportunity for our kids down in the south part of Thornton. So that's how we started the meeting. And I really appreciated the participation of everybody on the LRPAC and indulging me in the conversation about thinking about really what the impact is going to be to have such a great opportunity as we rebuild Thornton High. And then we went over the project timeline, which you guys got tonight. I already had it before. And we learned how this is going to all roll out. And it's going to take about 6 years to basically do all these projects with the money that the voters approved. And I really appreciate it. My heartfelt thanks goes out to the voters who voted for that. And I just want to point out, too, that, and I had said this at the last meeting, that people in the construction industry think very highly of Margie Ammon and Tim Dozel. And I just want to point out the best of luck to Tim and his new adventures. He's doing great things for schools. So that's the LRPAC. Now, we are going to have a charter renewal presentation on New America. And I believe we are going to start with the district. Okay, well, I'm just going to give it to Bo Fobert and let him take it from here.
Yep. All right, good evening, board members. Superintendent Godowski, Happy New Year to you all. I'm going to try to talk while I maneuver the screen here. Give me a moment. Thank you. Okay. So first agenda item tonight is the renewal process for New America Thornton. It's a process that we take very seriously and put a lot of diligence into so that you as a board can make a very informed decision. And so I want to orient you to what the presentation is going to look like tonight because it's going to have 3 phases to it. But I also want to begin by just acknowledging a lot of great work that's happened over the past several weeks that have put together the information you'll see tonight. Obviously, I want to recognize Myra and Michelle and their openness and their team and their partnership with us over the last several weeks as we've done this work. You're going to hear a lot tonight from Audrey Monaco and Kellyanne Scott, who are our Director of Charter Partnerships and Charter Liaison, respectively. I also want to recognize Kim Brady and Dave Baina, who do a lot of technical support with this work, provide a lot of advising to Audrey throughout this process. And then we have members of our DAC here this evening, along with our DAC President, Tara Raju, who will be having a portion of this presentation tonight. All of those folks have put in a lot of extra time and effort over the past several weeks for the presentation that you're going to see tonight. So the presentation is going to come in 3 pieces tonight. You're first going to hear a presentation from New America Thornton that Myra and team will lead. We're then going to allow for questions and answers after that section, so you can really focus your feedback, your questions on one section at a time. From there, you'll hear the presentation from our district accountability members. Same thing, they'll present, Q&A. And then finally, Audrey and Kellyanne will present the district's presentation. As always, Superintendent Godowski reserves the right to hop in at any time as he feels the need, and then you'll have a Q&A at the conclusion of the district's presentation. As a reminder, tonight is giving you information, allowing you to interact. This is not an action item for you until our next meeting in February. Audrey, anything you'd add as part of the overview, or are we ready? Okay. Clear for you all? All right. New America, I'm going to invite you up to get us started here, and I think I pulled the wrong one up. Let's do this. Okay, it's all yours.
Let me take this one so I don't make mistakes. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Godowski. My name is Mayra Ramirez. I'm the principal of New America School Thornton. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. My team and I are very excited to share all the great work we have been doing during this last renewal term. Let me introduce Santiago Lopez, Superintendent of NAS Colorado. He will be starting us off by reading our school's mission statement.
Something we do I'm Santiago Lopez, Superintendent at New America School. I started with New America Thornton in 2013 as an assistant principal, then became the principal, and now I'm the superintendent overseeing the 3 New America schools in the metro area. One thing that we do at a lot of our meetings, all of our professional development meetings as well as our board meetings, is to ground ourselves in our mission. The New America School empowers new immigrants, English language learners, and academically underserved students with the educational tools and support to maximize their potential and live the American dream.
Before we get into the focus of our presentation, I would like to talk about our programming and student demographics. In terms of scheduling, students attend classes 4 days a week from 8:15 to 3:50 p.m. They take 7 classes inclusive of an advisory period. We do offer extended schedule. Our evening classes run from 5:10 to 7:11 p.m. This allows us to customize schedules based on student needs, and it also allows for more credit accrual. We offer a variety of credit recovery options, such as online classes, evening classes, Friday school, summer school, credit for students who are working, and a foreign language test currently only available in Spanish. We have a newcomer program where individuals in this program are full-time students. They receive 3.5 hours of English development. They also take shelter statistics, U.S. history, and physical education. Students in the newcomer program can be in that program for up to 2 years. In addition to our traditional diploma track, we also offer the competency-based diploma, which we refer to as the CB diploma. This is our alternative diploma track that was modeled after Pathways and adapted for New America School students. This is a semester-long program. Students attend classes from 9:20 a.m. to 3:50 p.m., also inclusive of an advisory period, and there are strict requirements for students to enter the program. Please take a minute to look at the numbers on this slide. These are the experiences and backgrounds of the students who enroll at our school. 97% of students have at least one indicator of being high risk of dropping out, as defined by Colorado State statute for alternative education campuses. 95% of students have a history of habitual truancy. 94% of our students are minorities, predominantly Latino, Hispanic. 85% of students come from low socioeconomic status. 67% are overage and undercredited. 54% are multilinguals, inclusive of long-term MLLs. 40% of our students have a history of suspension or expulsion. And 22% of our students are former dropouts. Now that you know who we are and who we serve, I turn it over to Santiago, who will speak about our current contract provisions.
Thank you, Mayra. So under the current contract that started in 2022, there are some renewal provisions that happen or that were put into the contract, and we're going to talk about all of those. The first provision is keeping a balanced budget, maintaining increasing current instructional and non-instructional staff. New America School Thornton has done that. We've been able to maintain a balanced budget prior to this current contract as well as through the current contract term. We've also been able to maintain instructional and non-instructional staff to ensure that our academic program we are able to offer the academic program that we offer. Meeting that Tabor reserve, we consistently meet that. We have done that ever since New America started, and as well as under the current contract term. This is a busy slide, so there's a lot to read. One provision was we are on the 4-year comprehensive support planning and implementation through the ESSA, the federal government, and so we recognize that. And one thing that we've done is we were able to tap into some easy grant targeted dollars for last year. And what we did is we contracted with the National Dropout Prevention Center, specifically their Diploma Planning Institute, which consisted of a 3-day training and some direct consultation, not only for New America School Thornton, but all 3 of our schools, so we can work together because we have the same challenges. So we want to work together to really open the minds and really understand what's going on. So starting with that root cause analysis and looking at some research-based dropout prevention strategies, the New America School Thornton's team worked with the DPI team in order to really lay out a plan. It's really a UIP, a Unified Improvement Plan, specifically around graduation. So that's one thing that we've done. And we did a combination of things of in-person and Zoom meetings with DPI in order to focus on a lot of different things. The New America School team put together a plan that was focused, actionable, and measurable. They were able to look at what really does increase student engagement, which then leads to students completing high school, whether it's through our competency-based diploma or the traditional track, or completing. Some of our students do leave us and get a GED, so it's a small percentage, but really looking at getting them on track to finish something. Progress towards a performance rating on the AEC SPF increased by 2.7 points on the 2024 AEC SPF, Alternative Education Campus School Performance Framework. So this is another busy slide, and I'm going to walk through it. So under the academic achievement section of the AEC SPF, that increased from 7.12 to 7.25. It didn't change the indicator rating, but there was a slight increase there, so we're going to continue to work on that. Academic growth increased from 17.51 to 23.36 points, improved the rating from approaching to meeting state standards or state expectations. Student engagement saw the reincorporation of the attendance and truancy measure, which was left out over the past few years. Really around COVID time, that's when it was pulled out to look at things differently. 8 of the 20 points were allocated to attendance and truancy and resulted in a decrease in allocation of points to optional measures and an overall decrease in points earned from 15.01 to 11, which we expected with the re-addition of attendance and truancy. Post-secondary workforce readiness increased the points earned from 15 to 16.08. We added an optional measure, and working with Dave Baina and the district, we added graduation rate as an optional measure. And that was added, and our result of that was 40.8%. So if you look, NAS Thornton met the 2022 renewal provision regarding improvement on the AEC SPF over the contract term, which was 2.7 points with an increase of 3.05 points over the contract term. I'm going to turn it back over to Maida.
Thank you.
Again, this is the first year that the graduation rate has been incorporated into our AEC SPF measure. To put this into context with the AEC SPF rating, Exceeds is set at a 54.3%, while Meets is at 33.3%. We are excited to share encouraging news about our graduation rate. We're currently at a Meets rating with 40.8, showing significant progress from 36% in 2022 and 37.9 in 2023. Thank you to Dave Baina for his support in gathering and calculating this data for us. Over just 2 years, we've achieved a 5% growth. We're now only 13% away from an Exceeds rating. And if we maintain our current growth rate of about 2.5% or more each year, we will be closer to Exceeds than Meets within 2 years. We will cover the various goals and strategies that we have implemented to increase our graduation rate a little bit later in this presentation. Another stipulation of our previous renewal was to demonstrate accountability and growth through district reporting due every 6 months. Some of the great outcomes from going through this renewal process are highlighting the accountability pieces that NAS Thornton excels at and identifying areas of growth. We have continued impactful work for students through attendance, behavior, and single school culture. We have improved the processes for graduation monitoring through credit accrual tracking and physical safety. We have been able to track, systematize, and embed these practices into our day-to-day operations, professional development, and our staff collaboration. We have met our goal of reporting to the district and have shared with you our areas of growth, progress, and celebrations. Our Dean Michelle Avila will now go through our specific initiatives and goals.
Thank you, Mayra. My name is Michelle Avila Quintero. I am the Dean of the New America School. Board members and Superintendent Gadowski, thank you so much for your time this evening. Okay. So NAS Thornton initiatives and goals this last renewal period fall into 3 categories: post-secondary readiness, academic achievement, and student safety and connection. We are excited to report we have made substantial progress in several areas. Our competency-based diploma program has seen a 64% enrollment increase, working towards our 100% increased role. We continue to be intentional with graduation tracking. 65% of continuously enrolled students within 7 credits of graduation earned their diploma by the end of the school year last year. Our goal is to reach 75% this school year. We have exceeded our student retention goal with 65.5 returning student rate, surpassing our 60% target. And notably, our behavior intervention programs have particularly been successful. Only 15% of students who participate in restorative mediation required a second intervention for the same incident, meeting our goal in this area. We're actually expecting a 20% recidivism, and we're pleasantly surprised to have less. Turning to our academic initiatives, we're making steady progress in curriculum development, with 70% of our courses already addressed in our scope and sequence revisions. We are particularly proud of our MapGrow results. We have met state expectations in both reading and mathematics, achieving the 56th percentile in reading, meeting state expectations, and the 61st percentile in math, exceeding state expectations. Our language usage scores are also improving, currently in the 48th percentile. We continue to develop school-wide systems that balance classroom uniformity, also with teacher autonomy. Regarding school safety and student connection, we have several key initiatives. We're working to increase positive responses on our AEC SEL survey, which measures how well NAS Thornton students feel welcomed, supported, and connected to the school. Our target is to increase 25% in this area. NAS Thornton works closely with Adams 12 Safety and Security Team, Anthony, Paul, Olivia, Q, and others, to ensure our building is a safe place to work and study. We train on standard response protocols yearly, and for the 2024 year, Our staff training is nearly complete at 95% due to the addition of new staff, and we plan to have them trained within the next 30 days. Our school enrolls students 3 times a year. During year 1 of this renewal, we conducted enrollment meetings with 95% of the new students that came through our doors to assess their needs in attendance, behavior, and credits. This year, our administration team developed an orientation video to inform students and parents of school expectations, resulting in uniform messaging to students, and it also helped us better allocate our resources. Outstanding concerns in behavior, attendance, and credits are still addressed through individual intake meetings when those are needed. But most importantly, our graduation rate of 40.8% meets AEC state standards.
Special education is an area we continue to improve. Year 1 of this last renewal, we had 3 qualified learning specialists who left NAS Thornton for reasons outside of the school's control. At the beginning of year 2, we continued to struggle with hiring and retaining a learning specialist. This led us to pursue alternative options by contracting through staffing agencies, restructuring the role of a learning specialist, and implementing systems and structures to support our special populations team. As of semester 2, our special education department is fully staffed. We are so excited to have a full-time learning specialist servicing students in person. We also have a part-time learning specialist who is in charge of all the paperwork and documentation. In addition, we are having special district meeting with Kellyanne Scott every 2 weeks, and we have weekly school team meetings with our key team members. We are fully confident that moving into this year, we have the right people, the right action steps, and we have the right structures with leaders running those structures, driving those structures to be able to make this happen in a more compliant way. A point of celebration is that 83% of students who receive special education services grew from fall to winter in their MAP reading. I want to address our current status and leave you with a final thought. While we moved from performance in 2023 to improvement in 2024 on our AEC SPF, this shift primarily reflects changes in metrics, including the re-addition of attendance and truancy measures. It is not a reflection of decline in performance. If the metrics had remained constant, NAS Thornton would have earned a performance rating in their 2024 AEC SPF. We are not on the clock for turnaround, and we're confidently projecting a return to performance in 2025. This trajectory demonstrates our commitment to continuous improvement and sustainable growth. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
You mentioned truancy and points, and I was just trying to understand what was trying to translate it and figure out what it meant. So if you could explain that to me, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for your question. I will let Santiago answer that question.
I'm going to go back to the slide. So on the school performance frameworks, whether it's an AEC school performance framework or the traditional, there's a set of points that are given for every metric that's in there. And on the truancy, the attendance and truancy rating, they're separate, but on there, the points that were awarded this year were non-existent on there. It was just it was a measure that was taken out over the previous few years. And so when they brought them back, those points were given to us based on what our attendance is and our truancy is. We do have attendance that we know is a struggle and that we're addressing through the one-on-one meetings and the additional conversations with families, as well as the high truancy rate. It always baffles me with the state that the state definition is truancy is attendance age. However, on the measures, it includes everybody in the school. So we know that, so we're trying to address, are those students that are truant and habitually truant, how do we engage them better in order for them to come? One of the ways that we found works is that connection to students, and Myra and her team have done a tremendous job to connect with students and families to really just ram home that it's important to be in school. But those points are awarded based on what our attendance and our truancy rates are. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
And you kind of answered partly my question that I was going to have, or what measures and practices have you put in place to help with attendance and addressing that?
Thank you for your question. I think one of the biggest pieces we have put in place is focusing on our CB program, which is our competency-based diploma, to try to re-engage those students that are overage and undercredited and are losing hope in finishing high school.
I had another question about the special education and IEP. Could we move back to that slide for a minute?
Yes.
So you said that you have hired a part-time learning specialist to ensure IEP meetings take place. Do we have any data that we can look at around IEP meetings, like how many have taken place on time?
Thank you. That's a really good question. We can pull that data for you. I don't have it with me, but I can definitely provide that for you. We do have someone on staff taking notes for us, so we will make sure we get that to you. Thank you.
It seems like good information. It seems like there are good things happening. It's just the data can help further.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
We will get that to you.
To build off what Director Battistelli had said, I would love to see data around what percentage of your student body is special needs. How are you assessing that? How are you making sure that everyone is being identified properly? But also, I would like to know a little bit differently, what percentage of your graduating students are receiving the CB diploma versus the other options, and kind of see a breakdown of some of that data. I think having a little bit more data, on truancy and things as well would be really helpful in putting some of this in context, because like she had said, there's a lot of great things seeming to go on, but without those numbers, it's hard to really see that.
Thank you for that feedback, and we'll make sure we get that information to you.
Anything else?
Can we make observations at this point? One thing I will say that I appreciate that New America does is it's meeting the needs of a population that is historically underserved, and I can't overstress how important that is. And I also recognize that it's difficult, particularly around hiring learning specialists who have expertise not only in IEP, but meeting the needs of students who have other factors in their lives as well.
Thank you very much for that feedback.
And also the evening classes. As a person who had to work in high school, I always say, had that been an opportunity, and that's a reality so many of our students face, is that they have to work to support their families. So I appreciate the innovation in the hours offered.
Thank you again for that feedback.
I appreciate the effort that you've put in the last couple of years. A couple years ago, it was a little, I think it was a little stressful. And, we laid out a plan for you, and you stepped up, and you're carrying on. And I see what you guys do there. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your feedback.
I do have a question. Do you have any of your board members here?
Yes, we have 3. Can you raise your hand if you're on the NAS board? Yes, Santiago will introduce them.
We have the president of our board, Dr. David Conde. One of our board members, Carlos Klinger, and Dr. Edgar Maldonado.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, board members. Okay. All right. Next.
And I'm going to leave this on so nobody struggles.
I see the DAC.
I'll be here for now. Yes, you're very welcome, Bo. Thank you, Bo.
Good evening, Superintendent Godowski, members of the board. I am Stephanie Ortiz, a parent member of the District Accountability Committee, and the first of 3 speakers this evening from our DACS Charter Subcommittee. This year, our subcommittee comprised of 2 district staff and 6 parent and community members. We appreciate the continuing opportunity to have the DAC engage in the charter renewal process. Engaging in this work is always valuable to DAC members and is greatly enhanced when done in collaboration with district staff. As in previous years, members of the DAC both participated in a site visit and reviewed the charter renewal application, focusing on 3 main areas: mission and vision, culture and climate, and organizational performance. We are not here tonight to provide a recommendation to renew or not renew, but to share our perspective based on this work.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hello, my name is Heidi. I'm a parent member of the District Accountability Committee. I've been with the DAC for almost a year. Today, I would like to highlight some of the strengths and some positive findings about NAS. So those findings are mostly based on what we observed from the school site visit and from the renewal documentations. It's clear that the school did some meaningful changes to support its student diversity. These changes are strongly aligned with their mission and vision, as most of their students are new immigrants, English language learners, and academically underserved. It offers a lot of options for them, like online courses, the extended scheduling, Friday school, summer school, and they have a work-study program. The staffs are also trying to engage in communications with families. The administrator team hold these one-on-one meetings with newly enrolled students, and they hold these like monthly coffee talks. As a smaller school compared to other high schools in Adams 12, they have a small student-teacher ratio. This ratio allows them to have personalized attention, so every student is known by name, which we think those students might feel more supported. Also, we want to mention their great efforts in student attendance and their efforts to increase student behavior. Since considering 100% of their students have at least one adverse childhood experience indicators, and 95% of their students have a history of habitual truancy, these efforts are critical. The students have an interventionist to build a strong relationship with the students, and they also trained all their staffs with historical practices so they can apply this during their mediation meetings. As a result, their attendance rate increased, and their habit and their incident behavior have dropped over the past 3 years. We believe the management is working hard to support the student learning by getting better habits and creating a positive school climate. Also, compared to the school site visit from a few years ago, there are some improvements. In policies and protocols. The hallways are much cleaner, and they are decorated to celebrate different cultures and holidays. The 2024 revision of the student handbook is another step forward. It provides students, families, and staff with more clear expectations and responsibilities. We feel that from things we observed that the management is trying hard to build a more consistent and structural school environment so the whole school community can have a better shared understanding of stability and belonging. Now I will hand it over to Omkar to discuss the concerns.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Omkar Yeramseti. I'm also another parent volunteer at the District Accountability Committee. The things that I'm going to cover over here are the areas of growth, concerns, and considerations that we thought about the New American School. one of the things that DAC noticed is that New America being a unique school by itself, it needs to be marketed more. What we felt like was that the school has been being marketed more through its through the families and word of mouth, and it should also be tried to connect to the other school districts, and that would help in terms of recruiting more students for the specific needs, that the unique needs that NAS serves. And we also thought that the second point that we also looked at is that NAS serves not only Spanish-speaking students, but also other multi or non-native English-speaking students. So we would like to see like there is more support for those students and those families from NAS. And in terms of student engagement, we saw that there's a lot of collaboration among the students. And as you can imagine, there is a little bit of variability in different kinds of classes. So we would like to see more consistency in that part of it. In terms of opportunities, we also thought that there is a varied communication, like there is a coffee with principal and other communications that are being done, but we would also recommend that the school reach out in different other ways of communication, like text messages, phone calls, emails, or whichever other ways possible, so that the school's mission and the uniqueness is spread out for the community. And also that one other thing that we did not notice is that we did not see any specific details about the culture and climate survey or feedback from the community. So maybe if those can be done and those can be published out to the district or to the community, that would be helpful in terms of understanding the school's performance. And lastly, we thought one point of recommendation from us is that there are lots of resources that are available from the district that the New America School can reach out to and collaborate and partnership to develop the staff and teachers and use those resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
So Tara, you just like the den mother tonight and not actually talking, but making sure that all your kids come forward. Nice job.
That's
I just
empowerment.
need to tell our DAC folks that you did a great job. They're always so nervous about it beforehand. So yeah, you did good.
Very well done. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Good evening. I am Audrey Monaco. I am the Director of Charter Partnerships.
And I'm Kellyanne Scott. I'm the Charter Liaison for Special Populations.
We will be co-presenting the district presentation for New America Thornton's renewal application tonight. I wanted to start our presentation by giving an overview of our Adams 12 renewal process. A renewal process is required for any renewal consideration of a charter contract. Our renewal process here in Adams 12, the primary purpose is to review a school's record of performance and to determine if it should continue to operate as a district authorized charter school.
So I'm going to provide a brief overview of our renewal process and what that entailed. You can see here that it was two-pronged. The first part is our site visit. This is a range of classes that are observed by district stakeholders, the District Accountability Committee or DAC members, and a Colorado Association of Charter School Authorizers or CACSA reviewer. This person was a third-party reviewer who supported our process. In addition to going and visiting the classes, we also conducted interviews with the Charter Schools Board, leadership, parents, students, and staff. The charter was given a summary of the site visit observation feedback. The school was given an opportunity to respond to this in writing and also respond to some questions that arose from our reviewers. Those reviewers also reviewed the renewal application packet review here that you can see. This is part of our requirement under Board Policy 2.9 and includes the categories of school climate and culture, organizational performance, academic growth and achievement, equal access and opportunity, and financial accountability and transparency. So those reviewers, again, were the same reviewers that looked at this part, and we really wanted to make sure that the site visit and the renewal packet process supplemented each other and gave us a more comprehensive understanding of what was really going on at the school. We were able to tease out some nuance in the school's programming and their governance, and also just how they were running and improving their academic program.
In addition to the site visit and the renewal application, we also looked at the school's record of performance. This data was collected through our accountability processes in the Charter Partnerships Office. This included annual reviews, school performance frameworks, the school's progress towards their goals outlined in their Unified Improvement Plan. We also reviewed the original charter application to make sure that the school was following through on its promise to the Adams 12 community. We reviewed compliance reports and corrective action plans. We also reviewed the school's financial audits. We conducted a board meeting audit, and we also reviewed the progress reports submitted by New America outlined in their district charter contract attachment 11. We wanted to include our renewal timeline here. You can see from August all the way to January, our entire process. I did want to point out January and February, we had a mutual extension between New America, Adams 12, and our DAC committee for extra time to review the school's application. So that's why we're here presenting on January 15th, and the board will vote on February 5th. The next few slides, we will go over our application assessment, some strengths and some considerations for the board prior to making your decision. You've heard from New America today and you've learned a lot about them. I have a few additional pieces of information about the school. They opened in 2005 and have been authorized by Adams 12 since 2018. They currently hold a 2-year charter contract with our district, and that will expire in June of 2025, which is why we are here tonight and reviewing our renewal process. They currently serve grades 9 through 12, and as of December, they had 174 students. I am happy to say that since the holiday break, they have seen an uptick in enrollment, and as of yesterday, they were sitting at 185. Their school model is an alternative education campus in AEC. They are a charter school dedicated to serving English language learners, new immigrants, and non-traditional students. They are part of a New America network. They are one of 3 schools in the network. Linked here for you to review are their application materials. The submitted application is linked, as well as our compilation of their site visit summary. I also included their site visit feedback response. Our reviewers had a few questions, and the school did provide feedback to those, so I've linked that here. In the next couple slides, you will see a summary of the strengths that we identified. Climate and culture and mission alignment were part of those strengths. You will also hear some summary of concerns or considerations in the areas of equal access and opportunity, academic growth and achievement, mostly surrounding post-secondary and workforce readiness, as well as staffing allocations. We wanted to include a historical timeline of the time that New America has been authorized by Adams 12. You can see our current charter term is in gray and red, but we did add in information from 2018 on. Adams 12 approved NASA's contract in 2018. They had previously been authorized by the Charter School Institute, our statewide authorizer. This contract was a 2-year contract with some contractual provisions and an extension option for 1 year. The concerns that had been outlined by Adams 12 and CSI as well were at a low SPF rating, a low graduation rate, concerns in special populations, and concerns in safety and security. New America did meet the provisions in the contract and was granted the extension in 2021. Our last renewal with New America was in 2022. They were given a 2-year renewal with, again, agreed upon contractual requirements. These conditions were surrounded by financial considerations, safety and security, graduation rate, and special populations. Attachment 11 of the charter contract outlined these requirements and were in response to those concerns. That brings us to 2024. The school has participated in the renewal process this year, and we are happy to say that they have improved their fund balance as well as the safety and security concerns. The next couple of slides, we will go over some of the remaining concerns that we have surrounding low graduation rate and serving special populations. New America did an excellent job outlining their progress towards the contract attachment 11 requirements. This, like I said in the previous slide, was in response to some of the concerns outlined. And the school did set additional goals and reported on them quarterly. We had an executive summary that was given to the board in June that is linked on the next slide that went over the progress that they made as well as some that are still in progress. Again, New America did an excellent job showing us the progress that they made. I will say that they did do an excellent job at providing us with quarterly reports and working with the district on their comprehensive support plans last year and again this year. They did keep balanced budgets and maintained their current instructional model, and they did meet the Tabor Reserve. Two goals are still in progress. Like Santiago mentioned, we did have a goal that they would make progress towards that performance rating by making at least 2.7 percentage points in growth. They did score the improvement rating on the 2024 AEC, but again, their overall score was impacted by that re-inclusion of truancy and attendance data. And they were correct. Had that not been included, they would have had a performance rating on the SPF. The second goal, we did have a goal of them reaching or making progress toward reaching a goal of 67% graduation rate. We wanted that best of 4, 5, 6, and 7-year annual graduation rate to have a 15% increase. The school does have a graduation rate rated meets on their 2024 SPF, and they have shown improvement consistently in graduation rate and completion rate. Currently, their completion rate is rated a does not meet, and they have been identified federally through Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, for comprehensive support and improvement under the low graduation rate category. And they've held this identification for 6 years.
Audrey, can I jump in there?
Yeah.
I just want to point out for the board and for others, one of the biggest struggles and tension points for us as an authorizer for NAS are these competing and different standards for acceptable graduation performance from the state and from the feds. So on the one hand, when the state says it's satisfactory and you meet expectations to be 33% plus, we feel like that's good. And then obviously when the feds say 67% is the standard and you're not there and haven't been for 6 years, we're conflicted. It's a difficult spot for us to be in, and that's why we continue to lean in on graduation all the time. Beyond just wanting kids to have a certificate and credentials that allow them opportunity as they enter the workforce in the world, it also just puts us in this really challenging place in terms of the accountability systems and the conflicts between the two. So I just wanted to make that explicit.
Absolutely. So I have the privilege of sharing with you some of the strengths that emerged from our work in this renewal process. And I want to speak first about school culture and climate. So as we reviewed the application, as we entered the school, we conducted interviews, the thing that really became clear is that students perceive that what they can get at their school, they cannot get elsewhere at other schools. The leadership culture is overwhelmingly positive. Student and educator perceptions are very closely aligned in regards to their school. Students indicated that the school staff is very passionate for their work. They feel like they're connected to their staff, and students are enthusiastic about their time at the school. The school offers some unique support for students who require that more flexible approach. As we heard earlier, they have afternoon classes, flexible schedules, a 4-day school week with flexible Fridays. They also have opportunities to receive a full high school diploma, not just a GED. They have a competency-based diploma program cohort, which is really gaining popularity with students. And students who are in that cohort feel very strongly about what it has meant for them in their lives and have actually sought that out and come to the school specifically for the program. Students experience physical, social, and emotional safety. They have these small classes that feel very supportive for them, and they have opportunities to do things like art and music appreciation in addition to their core curriculum. And just generally, support is very widely available. Students identified safe adults in the school across all of their interviews. That was a consistent trend. The leadership has clearly implemented a lot of structures and systems also to support professional growth of their teachers, whether that's working through consultants, working through in-school supports and programming, training the staff on consistent procedures. That came through very strongly in this process. Another strength is their mission alignment, which you've also heard a little bit about tonight. But I want to highlight that this is a small alternative education campus high school experience that offers support for that long-term language learning and no barriers to enrollment. So the school's staff, I'm looking back at my other notes. When we look at the options for AEC programming in this area, there are some different programs that students can tap into depending on their unique needs. Students may need to meet admissions requirements that are unique to each of those programs, and that might include living within certain boundaries, age requirements, high school semester completion. In this program, those barriers to enrollment or conditions for enrollment are a little bit different. We also have a newcomer center offered by the district, but students may attend that for 1 year. We do have an extended time available to students in this program. There may be changes in what the newcomer center at Thornton High School has to offer in the future to allow for multiple year attendance, but this is currently something that fills a gap that we would have otherwise. In addition, the site visit observations and our interview responses, again, underscored that commitment to making sure that the practices and the culture align with the stated mission and vision. We could see things like safe hallways initiatives and restorative justices in practice throughout the school, not just in classroom spaces, but in common spaces as well. We noticed that staff and leadership actively work to create that environment, and students and staff feel that sense of unity and purpose, and I think that extends to the families as well. The visibility of the mission, physical visibility, even it's posted across classrooms and hallways. It's commonly referenced by staff and students alike. Really inspired confidence in that focus and priority that they had set as a school. And in addition, the Board of Education for the school and the school's leadership are very representative of the school population. I also want to share with you some considerations. We mentioned earlier that one of the considerations is equal access and opportunity, specifically around student support services. During the charter term for the school, there have been ongoing concerns around appropriate special education services that are offered, specifically related to staffing. So a little quick timeline here of some of the action that has been taken to help resolve some of these issues. In November of 2023, there was a notice of concern issued to the school related to a lack of staffing, specifically in nursing. It also noted that staffing special education providers was difficult, and the school had a delayed response to some of the concerns that were brought forward. That led into February of 2024, when a breach of contract was issued to the school. The school had hired a learning specialist, but that learning specialist had an expired license, and therefore the services that had been provided did not meet student IEP minutes. There was a need for compensatory services, and the school also had a delayed response to those circumstances that impacted their contractual agreements to serve students with special needs. This breach was rectified by the end of the school year by hiring a learning specialist who was qualified through the staffing agency. That staff member has continued in their employment as a part-time virtual support for, they mentioned, a lot of the documentation and making sure that timelines were compliant and student work was being, or documentation was being completed on time. In December of this school year, so December 2024, we issued an additional notice of concern. Because the school had a virtual support for a learning specialist, but did not have an in-person learning specialist who could provide services, there was a gap in that service delivery for students on IEPs. They were struggling to hire a learning specialist despite advertising the position, working with outside staffing agencies. The day before this notice of concern was issued, they worked with the staffing agency and they were able to hire a special education teacher. There is a need for substantial compensatory services, and that process is ongoing. They're providing weekly reports about the progress toward delivery of those services, but that is something that is a continuing pattern of concern. And to that end, we wanted to just note the recruitment and retention of hard-to-fill positions serving special populations is something that is a trend. During this charter term, the school has struggled to staff and retain teachers for these hard-to-fill positions, particularly special education teachers and service providers, but also there was a gap at the beginning of the year in an English language development teacher. This has resulted in notices of concern and a breach of contract that you just saw due to not being able to meet those contractual requirements. So in the interview responses, this has also held up that we saw newcomer students and families say, I was disappointed that I didn't get that service from the very beginning of the school year. I'm getting it now, things are going okay, but there was a gap in our time, our education. We do not typically have salary in our purview, but because we hypothesize that the impact of salary may actually be impacting the ability to hire in these hard-to-fill positions, we wanted to note that this bottom bullet point here, the starting salary offered to a special education teacher with a master's degree at New America School is 19.2% lower than the Adams 12 district starting salary for the same position. Similarly, for a general education position, which might include something like a CLDE teacher, that's 30% lower than the Adams 12 starting salary for this position. And so we wanted to just note that this is something we see as a potential challenge in the school's ability to provide services for special populations.
In addition to equal access and opportunity, we also had some considerations with academic growth and achievement, specifically in post-secondary and workforce readiness. Like we had mentioned before, and Superintendent Gadowski clarified, New America Thornton has a graduation rate of 40.8, which rates meets on their AEC SPF. But again, they were identified federally under ESSA as being in need of that comprehensive support. And they also fell below our mutually agreed upon goal of 67% in attachment 11. However, they did make progress. The table that is on this presentation slide is the 7-year completion and graduation rates for New America School Thornton. The entire time they've been authorized by Adams 12. Again, the current charter term is in the teal green color. And you can see from 2018 all the way up until the 23-24 school year, they have made progress in both completion rate and graduation rate. There was a drop after the 1920 school year due to the COVID pandemic, but you can see in school year 23-24, their completion and graduation rates are either exceeding or approaching where they were pre-pandemic. An additional consideration also related to post-secondary and workforce readiness is a New America's dropout rate. Their dropout rate currently has maintained it does not meet rating on the SPF during the current charter term as well as in years prior. The dropout rate is significantly higher than state and district dropout rates. It's also significantly higher than the AEC average. Those are sitting at about 2% roughly. New America's dropout rate for the 23-24 school year was 31.5, and it has maintained from 2018. It hasn't changed much. An additional consideration, per their renewal application, New America experienced an unexpected 22% decrease in their enrollment for this school year. At October count, the school is at 79.6 of their projected enrollment. While this is not technically a concern at the moment, it is a consideration. If this is the beginning of a trend and pupil count continues to drop, there may be some concerns regarding the ability to continue with current staffing levels, and there would definitely be a concern over their ability to potentially increase salaries if they chose to effectively recruit teachers and retain staff. In response to the 22% decrease in enrollment, they did adjust their projected enrollment to budget conservatively over the next 5 years. They also maintain a healthy fund balance currently. While talking to board members at the site visit, they stated that they have plans for pinpointing targeted areas for marketing, and they are using specific technology to help out with that. So they do have plans to address this should it be the beginning of a trend. As the Board of Education, you have options for their charter renewal term. We have listed the 3 options here. The first would be a 5-year charter term, which is the maximum charter term, and New America would undergo the standard monitoring procedures. The other option would be less than 5 years. The school would be subjected to increased monitoring and oversight by our district. And the third option would be non-renewal. This would mean that the school would not receive a new charter and would close at the end of the current school year or an agreed upon date as per our district policy 1600. We do have a recommendation. Because of the considerations that were previously discussed, the recommendation today is for a contract that's less than 5 years. The considerations surrounding recruiting and retaining staff members serving special populations, as well as post-secondary and workforce readiness considerations, led us to the recommendation of a 2-year contract with contractual provisions to be negotiated by both parties. We did consider a 1-year recommendation, meaning that the school would need to submit their renewal application by fall of 2025. This would mean that they would have less than 1 year of data for us to review at the time of that renewal. The school's plans and their goals, in our opinion, would take more time to execute, and our Adams 12 reviewers would need more data than less than a year to be able to identify those trends and make sure that the school is moving in a positive direction. So at this time, we feel that the 2-year recommendation is more appropriate. I mentioned that the recommendation was the 2-year with some provisions that could be negotiated by both parties. We do have some recommended provisions here that really target those concerns with special education as well as the post-secondary and workforce readiness. The first section would be to improve special education procedures and remain compliant with state and federal statute. We would like to propose that New America hire and retain an outside special education consultant to work with their special education team to remain compliant, and they would work with this person for the entirety of their charter term. The school must hire and retain qualified ELD and special education teachers, as well as special education service providers, by the start date of the school year. And in the case of turnover, the school may not let more than 3 weeks elapse without a qualified staff member in these areas. In terms of post-secondary and workforce readiness measures, we are asking New America to work with our district's executive director of secondary options and innovative programming on a minimum of a quarterly basis. We would like that to be able to help extend their capacity to execute their competency-based diploma program and get more students to take advantage of that. Our executive director of secondary options and innovation programming is willing to work with the school. He actually said that he would work with them monthly if they were interested. The second bullet point, we would love for the school to demonstrate substantial progress towards reaching that graduation rate of 67%. And we would love for them, based on the class of 2028 graduation data, to improve the best of 4, 5, 6, and 7-year annual graduation rate data by 15%. And to address the dropout rate, we would want New America to move towards a SPF rating of meets by achieving a dropout rate of 17% by 2027. Do you have any questions?
Anybody?
I have a question. Can you clarify for me, someone? I know New America School opened in 2005, and you had said that they kind of fell back into the Adams 12 umbrella in 2018. Were they with the State Charter School Institute from 2005 to 2018 entirely?
Santiago, you were with, so they were with CSI right before they came to Adams 12, and before that it was Mapleton. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Santiago, were you all chartered by Adams 14 at any point or 27J? I just think there's been a number of authorizers over time. Yeah.
Haven't you been with us before you were at CSI too?
So I've been with New America School for 20 years. So when we first opened, it was Adams 14, then it was Adams 12, then it was Mapleton because we moved, and then it was CSI, and then it's Adams 12 again.
So in the presentation, it would be really helpful to see that, because looking at it, especially, I was here the last time that there was a presentation on their renewal, and so I knew that there was discussion around that, right? Like, why did we release you guys before, and this isn't our first rodeo? And so now, I was a little off put to see like, oh, they came back, it was the first time in 2015, and that just wasn't the case. I would also like to see significant more data. Like I had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of talks in generalities, and when we're talking about some of the special needs students and their needs, how many kids are we talking about? How many kids are taking advantage of this competency-based diploma? We're talking about we're going to increase that. Well, what does that actual number look like? And having some of that tangible data is just, it gives all of it so much more context. And, it's an alarming thing for me that you guys were in breach of contract, especially in that special education space. as someone with a special education student, I mean, it can impact their life for the long haul, and it's something that is just serious, and not just for the student, but for the school, for charter schools as a whole. I mean, just big picture, and I would hate to see, you know, lawsuits and things come up for you guys when it's something that's preventable. You guys have done a tremendous job of growing and improving, and I still, just like 2 years ago, I can feel the passion, I can feel the dedication. Your students are great, and the culture and the climate, everything is really, really good. And you guys have risen to the occasion on some things, and I'm confident that you can rise to the occasion on other things, but you have to keep going. When there was a discussion or a point made about declining enrollment, and if this trend continues, we'll do something about it. Do something about it now. Be proactive. I would love to see a more proactive approach on some of these issues. Start marketing, because they're not going to all enroll today. And I would encourage you, it's really hard, especially when you're building an organization and you're fighting for it, to see kind of past what's going on in your school. But as you've heard Superintendent Godowski talk about school finance issues, it's coming, and that will impact you. So while I'm glad that you guys are being more conservative with your finances and creating a 5-year plan, start planning for the impact it's going to have. Start looking at, you know, there was proposed legislation last year. We heard it when we met with a local representative this year. There will be proposed legislation again for charter schools, specifically around special education needs. So please, 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 you know, listen to the team. You have a ton of people around you that support you. Lean into them, be proactive, and just keep hustling, because you serve a very underserved community. And as Adams 12 grows and as our enrollment declines, we tend to find, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we could have more space for some of these students at Pathways, at Vantage Point, when that wasn't an option before. So I would love to see you guys continue to expand, offer some language services for people that are learning a different language or speak a different language other than Spanish, and really just continue to thrive, because you're part of the Adams 12 family, and we need you. So keep up the good work and just keep hustling.
I have a question in relation to, and this is something that actually it impacts both Adams 12 and New America, and that is around the dropout rates. So you talked about, I can't remember who mentioned it, maybe it was Myra, some of the students have gone on to earn their GED. How does that factor into both? And this might be a Dave sort of question too. How does that factor into statistics on dropout rates? Is there a way, do we track for those sorts of things?
Dave, come on up.
Sorry, Dave. It seems like every time I open my mouth, Dave has to come to the front.
Good evening, Superintendent, board members. So in terms of GED, that factors into the completion rate. So they are not a dropout if they're in a GED program. So they would not factor there. A dropout is a student who is at a school, leaves that school, does not enroll anywhere else. There's no documentation that they go anywhere else, and so they're a dropout that year. It's an annual statistic, so then if they enroll somewhere next year, they could then be a dropout if they leave that school and don't enroll somewhere else. So GED program would not count as a dropout.
So when we talk about the dropout rate here with New America School, we're talking about dropouts, meaning they did not go on to pursue a GED.
Yes,
Okay.
so they disenrolled from New America Thornton and then did not enroll anywhere else. What happens is this process, we report all this data to CDE. We don't have the ability to track where students go and if they actually enroll somewhere else. We might get paperwork, they might say, I'm going to go here, what have you. CDE then does a reconciliation process. We say, this student left us, and they can check their SACID, their state assigned ID, to see if they did in fact enroll anywhere else. And so there's a long, convoluted process that goes on, and really the data comes in November, December, and is released by the state in January. That's how long the process is.
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding all of the variables around that before I started, making assumptions. So you're good, Dave. He's like, can I go sit back down now? I guess what I would like to say is that I can't overstress how important it is to explore the reasons for dropout in relation to some of the conversations we've had around special education. I'm not saying that correlation equals causation, but there could be some factors there around the lack of special education support and the lack of ELL support for people who want to go past a certain point. So I can't overstress the need to make sure that you're exploring that avenue as much as you can. So that's what I wanted to say.
So I have a question for New America. Loretta spoke earlier this evening. Is she the learning specialist now?
Yes.
And so is she full-time? Okay. And then my other question I have for your board, a lot of other charter schools have foundations that raise money to supplement the money that they don't have. Is there anything being done? Because, I see your pain as far as hiring. Is there anything being done to supplement what you get, for your per pupil revenue to help augment that?
Okay.
So I explored that as well. I was like, don't we have a foundation? Because I know all the districts do. And we have a foundation registered from years ago that hasn't been active. So that's one thing that our board has talked about in our strategic planning sessions is, can we revitalize that and can we do that? But it is still registered. So it's not going to, I don't think it's going to take a lot to get it back up and going. And looking at how we can supplement some of our finances or our revenues coming in so then we can offer those. So we're going to explore that, continue to explore that.
Good, because I think I brought that up a couple of years ago too.
Yes.
So I also have a lot of questions that I think would probably just be better email because as Director Potter said, there's a lot of generalities that have been presented and not a lot of specific data points to be able to reference. And so I guess instead of going down the list of the questions I have, especially related to those data points, who would be best? Who should we, if we need to reach out for more, to get more information and to get that data and those questions answered before the next, or before February 5th?
My suggestion would be if you had questions, ideally it'd be great to put them in writing and email them to Audrey and to Myra. And then I think from there they can work with various members on both sides to get some more data.
Is it possible to put together, maybe we come up with a deadline? Because I have a list of questions and I'm sure that there's some overlap and then we can collectively send it so that we're not all bombarding them with.
It's a nice friendly amendment to what I just said. So maybe by close of business on Monday, if you can have on the board member side to Audrey the questions you'd like to pose. If you can do it sooner, that would be great because the time between, I just know that it's helpful to have time to dig into things. But if you could do that by close of business Monday, we'll eliminate some redundancy and then get things on to Myra and then we'll talk about reasonable timelines to get some responses back.
And then we all get the responses?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Monday's
Thank
a holiday.
you.
Okay.
But thank you so much for all the hard, everybody, Dak, Audrey, you guys, I know it's a lot. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Should we take a break?
Lori just asked if we should take a break, and I would say absolutely. 5 minutes sounds great. 10 would be better.
We'll do 10. Be back here at 25 after. All right. Intermission is over. The candy's been delivered, and let's get going.
The candy and the Tylenol, so.
Okay. So yes. Good point. Instructional materials presentation, Ms. Brady.
All right. Good evening, Superintendent Godowski and board members. I'm happy to be here this evening. This is the first of 2 times you'll see me this year. I will probably go a little bit faster through the first couple of slides in our presentation because I think from last year, many of you probably remember our process and just how we go through this instructional materials review process. First, we start with our Colorado academic standards and our Adams 12 curriculum to make sure that whatever materials we bring to you are aligned and meet both of those 2 standards. And then we follow this policy, 6230, which is a consensus model. And we were fortunate that this time we were able to reach consensus on all the materials that we are bringing forward to you. So we didn't have to take it to our CAO in order to, be a tiebreaker or in order to receive a recommendation from our CAO. We felt that all of the materials were in alignment, and our committee is bringing that recommendation to you today. And then really what our identification process is that our individual schools look at materials that they want to use for a class or for our curriculum set, or we have a content team, and they might look and see if they're interested in using a set of instructional materials for use, and then they may bring it to this committee for review, or we look at a new course or program or an update to a series. So 2 of the top 2, we have a school that's bringing forth some materials, and we have a content team that are also bringing forth materials today. So we'll have a little bit of both. And then you'll be able to see that we've got representation from a diverse set of shareholders. We've got building principals on our committee, classroom teachers, parents, a community member, students from our respective high schools, and then staff members with various expertise all sitting on the committee. We were a little light on our committee representation and attendance this time. We only had a small group of staff members, but I did follow up with both our middle school and high school principals to make sure that they had reviewed materials and made sure that they were appropriate. So again, we were able to reach consensus that we would bring all of these materials forward to you. Again, our learning services criteria is that they are aligned to the Colorado academic standards, or in the case of science, that they're aligned to the next gen science standards, and that this meets the needs of our students based on the data that we see in relationship to instruction. And then our committee really looks for, does this meet the interests of our students? Is it high interest? Is it grade level appropriate? And will the materials be used? Does it stimulate our students' factual knowledge, literary appreciation, aesthetic values, or ethical standards? And then also, does it have controversial issues that our students would explore, or critical analysis of media? And then also, does it represent the various different cultural groups that are represented in our various respective groups in our country, and their contributions to our American heritage? And does it show fairness towards all those respective groups and individuals? So you'll see today that we have one piece of nonfiction. It is an online open source textbook
Open SciEd, and then some middle school texts that are part of a set of materials on migration, and then some high school texts that are part of 12th grade units of study. So we'll first start with Open SciEd. Like I said, that is aligned to our Colorado academic standards and the next gen science standards. It's really around phenomenon-based learning and allows students to explore some online lab-based thinking, allows a lot of lesson-based collaboration for teachers and for students. It's all open source. It is middle and high school. And our teachers have been kind of exploring with this for a while, and then we decided that we wanted to bring it to be approved. Our science coordinator felt like this was a really great open access resource that we wanted to make available for all educators. And because it is that phenomenon-based learning, it allows for lots of student hypothesis, student thinking, exploration, and some great STEM activities. So again, lots of connection to the science and engineering practices that are aligned to the next gen science standards. So that's our nonfiction piece of material that we're bringing forward to today. And our committee was really unanimous in bringing this one forward. In terms of our fiction texts, both middle and high school, both of these started at the school level. And again, the teachers and the schools that brought these forward felt that they were a nice alignment to our respective units of study, that these would be of high interest to students, that they were nice representations not only of students, maybe current students' current experience, or maybe a window into an experience that they hadn't had before, or they could be a sliding glass door, a peek into something that a student may not have experienced previously, but a window or an opportunity to see what a student of their same age might have had in their upbringing or in another particular part of their coming of age. So it was an opportunity for us to really talk about how do you open access to something that may be a little bit different than your upbringing or your opportunities in life. These texts have all been approved by the respective school accountability teams before they were brought to us. So if we're approving them, then we know that they've kind of passed the smell test for the respective school accountability teams. So at the middle school, the texts that we reviewed are Internment, Welcome to the New World, and We're Not From Here. These are all proposed as part of a managed choice opportunity for our middle school students, really around migration. And they all explore this, story of students traveling to the United States or traveling and immigrating to the United States and their various different immigration stories. Definitely some differing experiences. Welcome to the New World is a graphic novel. And so, again, very high interest for students who, maybe are not the traditional readers, wouldn't necessarily read a traditional novel. And then also the story of an internment camp in the We're Not From Here. Internment is the story of an internment camp of families who then are interned when they come to the United States, rather than having a very welcoming experience. So again, all migration stories as part of a managed choice. Students and families would receive information about, what these novels all have available to them, and then they would be able to choose which one their student would read. And then our high school literature, this is all part of our 12th grade units of study, and these are all novels. While they deal with some complex issues and complex topics, these are all coming from 12th grade classrooms that just would be aligned to our units of study. So I'm going to pause.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. A couple of years ago, the Hispanic Advisory Council read "We Are Not From Here," and I read it. And I don't really read a lot, but I couldn't put it down. It was really a good book. And it talks about some young folks, kids from like Guatemala, that journey to the United States. And if it's anything like it really is in real life, it's horrific what these families have to go through to get through Central America.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I think our committee definitely felt like there were some complex topics and themes, which is why we'd want to share as part of a managed choice unit that we definitely would want families to know which text their student was selecting.
I appreciate the richness, the complexity behind the books that have been selected. I think it's a nod to the fact that our kids have, it gives them credit for their ability to think through and reason through those complex topics, is what I mean. I did want to mention with Open Site Ed that I was really glad to see that on the list because I work with one of the professors behind that initiative, Bill Penuel at CU Boulder. And I know some people think, oh, that's an open education resource. But knowing Bill and his team and Inquiry Hub and how they work, I know that those resources, those curricular materials are heavily vetted by teachers who work to implement those strategies, and they're going through a constant sort of feedback cycle. So I was glad to see that cutting edge sort of science pedagogy approach there with inquiry and phenomena and helping kids think as scientists.
There's some really amazing lessons in Open Science, so we're excited to make that more accessible to all of our science teachers at the secondary level.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, on to the amended fiscal year 2024-2025 budget and appropriation resolution. And while Gina's making her way up here, I'll read. I will entertain a motion to adopt the amended fiscal year 2024-2025 budget and appropriation resolution as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Hey, Gina?
Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, board. Thank you for listening to our presentation tonight around the fiscal year 24-25 amended budget. You have two resolutions. One is to adopt the amended or approve the amended budget, and the other is a use of beginning fund balance. Okay, so we're going to do a few quick updates. Please stop me with any questions as we go through. These are the agenda items. We've talked a lot over the last year and a half that I've been here, or a few more months, and I'm sure you've heard for many years how the School Finance Act works. Currently, in the funding model that we're using for this current year, we get the benefit of up to 5 year of averaging. So you can get the best of 2, 3, 4, or 5 year averaging. As we talked about last year, as enrollment stabilizes, that benefit goes away. As the higher numbers go away, the average benefit goes away. In our presentation, we've updated our forecast. You might remember last year we were showing that we forecasted going flat in the next few, not next few years, but down the road. We're no longer forecasting going flat based on information from the State Demographer's Office. So I want to explain this chart to you because it's it is a little deceptive the way the lines show up because I'm doing two types of data on the same graph. The bar portion of the graph is our October count with no averaging. So you can see what our forecast is looking like from the actuals of 2019-20 through current and then in the future. The line graph that I'm showing, which is the scale on the far right side of the graph, is the additional students that are added to that number through averaging. And I decided to use 4-year averaging and 5-year averaging to show you what that looks like, because current law for next year, we will be funded on a 4-year average. And Chris has definitely given you updates on what we may be looking at for next year. So what you can see there, if you're looking at that line, the, dark red line is the benefit of 4-year averaging. You can see it's lower than the benefit of 5-year averaging. In the current year, if we were funded with 4-year averaging, we would look at funding of an additional 1,028 students to help offset the declines we've had over the years. 5-year averaging, in the current budget, we're getting the benefit of 1,343 students on top of our October count number. Next year, the 5-year average is 1,210 students in our forecast, and 4-year averaging is 885. So you can tell from that quick math that even going from 5 to 4 years has a substantial impact on our funded pupil count. I know that's a lot of information to digest, but I liked being able to show what that looks like for us. We've spent a significant amount of time talking about assessed valuations and how our School Finance Act is made up of state and local share, and the fact that when AVs go up, we don't get more money. Well, this year, thank goodness, because in the mill levy certification that you did last month, assessed valuations actually went down for total program. And so if you were to look at the financial statements that were attached for the amended budget, our local share went down $16.7 million, and our state share went up by that amount. So this is a really great example of just because AV changes, it doesn't change how we're funded for schools. You're well aware about our mill levy override revenue. Our 2018 mill grows by inflation, and like we talked about, AV doesn't impact our actual district revenue. Something new that we're adding is some information throughout each month on the work that the district does for budgeting. Erin calls it the ABCs, always budgeting constantly. And so we wanted to pick out just some high-level information for the board to understand the work that has happened July through December. And then January, we are doing the amended budget right now. The legislative sessions have begun. We are monitoring the assumptions by the JBC. Last year, when we did a presentation, we started talking about forecasting for next year. And as Chris may have shared with you, I don't know what to tell you today because there are so many potential scenarios. So we're focusing more on the amended budget because I'm not prepared to give you numbers to start working on. I could, but I don't like having 4 different scenarios, and I'm going to be wrong on all 4 of them. February, we will start finalizing, hopefully, the budgets that will go out to the schools along with their title allocations. Departments and the district-wide budget will be begun to be worked on. Some of this may be delayed based on what we start hearing out of the different hearings. March, hopefully, we are well along the way. And then April, we likely will bring a presentation to you depending on what we know, and we're currently scheduled to. And I think this is just going to be a strange year for the budget. And then we will bring the proposed budget to the board in May, and then you will hopefully you will adopt it in June. Okay, so back to the amended budget. I did want you to just be aware of what that budget calendar looks like annually for the district. So the beginning fund balance compared to what you adopted increased by $14 million. And you may remember when we presented the adopted budget that we were aware of almost $9 million we were getting from Adams County for an error they had made on SOT. So at the time of adoption, we didn't know when we would get the monies, and we also didn't know exactly how they applied, and so we were waiting for additional detail. Those funds did come in before June 30th, and so that makes up the bulk of our $14 million increase, and then there's a few smaller items in the scheme of our nearly $500 million budget. Our budgeted revenue in the amended budget has increased by $2.8 million. That is mostly an increase in expected investment earnings. Interest rates have been higher than we had originally budgeted. Chris can say, "I told you so." And then we also have more of our funds from the state earlier due to a legislation change. Not in the amended budget because we didn't know this until the night before last, but our state our School Finance Act funding is actually $1.6 million than we've put in the amended budget, and that's due to a change on the number of at-risk students the district is able to claim for the School Finance Act. And unfortunately, that information was very late coming to us. And then we have a bit of an offset with lower UPK revenue due to offering 10-hour sessions instead of 10-hour weeks instead of 15. And so we have a little bit less revenue than we had originally planned for that. So net for the amended $2.8 million, add 1.6, and that's what we should see at year end. Our budgeted expenditures, which is a little bit different than just expenditures, that's what we appropriate, has been increased by $16.4 million. Of that, $4.1 million is the carry forward. We allow schools to roll forward that they didn't spend last year. They are given the ability to spend it in the current year. Some of it is based on timing differences. They'll place an order in April. It doesn't arrive until after June 30th. My mean accounting rules, they can't count it in the current year. They have to count it in the next year. So that's part of how that works. We have an additional $2.4 million for transfer out of reserves for curriculum purchases that are anticipated throughout this year, and then an increase in $9.9 million for some one-time projects and programs. And so, in summary, our budgeted ending fund balance is projected to decrease by $32.9 million from our audited balance. And the next slide, you will see, Stephanie, this is not the newest presentation. I'm sorry. We will email you the newest presentation. This is showing audited. And so this is the FY24 audited fund balances to the fiscal year 25 amended budget fund balances. And so in the amended, the total ending fund balance on the amended budget that you adopted was $77.1 million. In the amended budget, it's $86.8 million that you can see in the second column that's consistent. So that is a change, an increase in ending fund balance of $9.8 million. So I know that's very confusing to see this displayed in different ways, so I apologize for that, but we'll get you the updated presentation. With the change in School Finance Act revenue that we're aware of, we are projecting the ending fund balance will actually be $88.4 million. Again, that's not reflected in this budget because we didn't know about it in time. Oh, right. And then so for the other funds that you're approving the amendment of, it's really mostly just adjusting the beginning fund balances from what we projected in the adopted budget to what happened in the audit. And the bond redemption and building fund reflect the the early prepay of those bonds that the board approved, as well as the issuance of the bonds from the other day. So the General Assembly convened on January 10th. They will be acting hopefully on the supplemental budget request. Something just listening to the economic forecast in December before they had the updated at-risk number, the expectation is that the state is having to increase their budget to fund schools by about $45 million because of those changes in AV. In prior years, they've been able to lower their obligation to schools because of the increase in AVs. So something that I would expect to see as a line item in the supplemental budget. Inflation was released today, and Aaron, 2.3%? Yes, 2.3%. That is 0.4 lower than the projections we had been hearing. So a little disappointing for our fiscal year 26 budget, and then our 2018 mill will grow by the 2.3. So that was new information. Just funny enough, it was released last year today as well. So where our timing with this board meeting aligns with the release of the inflation numbers. The last thing I wanted to share about legislative action is, as of right now, the Ledge Council does not anticipate any of the trigger language causing the pausing of the House Bill 1448. And so I finally read it in a way that I understood why that's happening, and both of the triggers are based on revenue numbers. And so the expectation is that those will not be met. We won't know, though, until the March economic forecast. So looking forward to next year, a little bit of time, the inflation is going to very minimally increase the base funding. Declining enrollment will decrease our revenue, and we will be using the March economic forecast to help understand the different pressures that we may be facing. So key takeaways, the amount we receive is really dependent on how averaging works, as you guys have been getting to hear a lot about. School finance, this is probably the most uncertain I've ever felt in a budget cycle with where it's going to land. The budget stabilization could very well return. You've heard about the state's challenges in what they've got to do. They have about $1 billion gap in what they can spend and the needs. And then I think that there's absolutely potential changes to either the School Finance Act of 1994 or House Bill 1448, or we could see something completely different. No idea what's going to happen. But based on what we know today, we do believe that that we may face a significant funding gap. Based on the approach that Chris has led in his many years here, I believe that we will work as collaboratively as possible to work through those challenges and provide the support to our students, staff, and families. So I'm a ray of sunshine this time of year. And that's my last slide. Any questions?
I take it you talked about both agenda items in one presentation?
Yes. Thank you.
We do have one motion on the table first, so just keep that in mind. Any comments?
Thanks for providing all of this.
Yeah.
Very. It helps. It is. It helps. So, when we have to have talks, we have something to talk about, encourage others to talk about. So, thanks.
You have a very eloquent way of delivering bad news and difficult topics like finance. You're just such a ray of sunshine, so thank you for making hard topics brighter and doing all the work, and to Aaron as well. You guys are great.
Yeah, Aaron did the bulk of the work on this, that's for sure. So thank you.
And don't text us at 3 in the morning this year.
I didn't text you at 3 a.m. That was Policy Matters. You need to talk to them. And I'd appreciate it if they didn't text me. If you're listening, Tanya, don't text me at 3 a.m.
Stephanie?
All right. Director Assad Lucas?
Aye.
Director Battistelli?
Aye.
Director Goldstein?
Aye.
Director Potter?
Aye.
Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to adopt the amended fiscal year 2024-2025 beginning fund balance resolution as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Director Assad Lucas?
Aye.
Director Battistelli?
Aye.
Director Goldstein?
Aye.
Director Potter?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt the resolution to support students and families as presented.
So moved.
Second.
So this resolution came out of some discussions that I had with other board members in other places. One of the things that we're all kind of gravitating toward is some of the concerns we have with the new administration coming on board on Monday. And there's a lot of concerns about our families of our kids who are not from here. Whether they're undocumented or not. So I confess I stole this from Boulder Valley Schools, but we did look at it. Phil and Marie took a good hard look at it and made it ours, basically. So there were some changes that were made to it. But I'm open for comments.
I am glad that we are moving forward with this and showing our families support. So thanks for adopting it from Boulder Valley and making it more for ours. I think for me, and I started addressing these concerns shortly after the election, but I had a lot of families reach out, parents that I've known for years, scared of what's going to come, what's going to happen. It was before the break, a student that has been with my third grader now, his entire, since kindergarten, I think even since preschool, but I know for sure since kindergarten, and is his best friend and loves him dearly. His mom, who does not speak English, but was sharing her story through another parent at the school of how they're having to make some hard decisions and didn't even know if they were going to be returning after the holidays. And I know I shared at a previous board meeting of the implications of not only these kids and not only these families that are going to be directly impacted by decisions that the incoming administration has shared that they want to enforce, but the secondary victims of their friends and educators and school communities. And so I think it's really important that they know we as a district support them and take this stance and will do what it takes to support them and let them know that schools are a safe place to provide what they need academically. So yeah.
I mean, all I could add to this would second what Lori and Amira have added so far, in that we have kids who are afraid, regardless of whether or not it is founded, and all news reports seem to suggest that there is some foundation to it, that fear is legitimate. And our kids are our kids, and it's our job to make sure our kids receive the education that they need. And so I think bringing it to us now is a great idea, especially considering that it's a good way to try to ease those fears for kids before the inauguration. So I appreciate that you're sort of the timeliness of it.
I would like to draw some attention. You know, this resolution is so inclusive of everybody in our district. We talk about the emotional well-being regardless of disability, race, creed, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, national origin, immigration, citizenship status, religion, ancestry, family compositions, or physical characteristics. And I really want to say thank you to everyone that worked on this to be so inclusive, because there are kids that are scared, that are bullied, that are struggling, and sometimes it has nothing to do with administration. It has to do with the beliefs of their family or the color of their skin or, you know, what they're wearing. And so, you know, looking at this resolution and to see that we can really lean in and continue to remind our families and community that Adams 12 is a welcoming place for all. And I think this is a really great thing to put out and do just that, remind people that Adams 12 is caring, inclusive, and engaging, and that sometimes, whether it's politics, race, gender, you know, all the things I previously mentioned, like there are kids that are scared, and hopefully they can feel safe, and, you know, we can continue to treat each other and students and families and everyone that disagrees with kindness and caring and being inclusive and less divisive. So thank you for putting this together.
Before any vote, I would like to acknowledge and apologize for a typo in the title of this resolution, and I would like to correct the spelling of the word families.
Well, some language it's correct. Okay. So, thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. In a more timely manner, because today is the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., I will entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation declaring February 2025, which is next month, as Black History Month in Adams 12 5-star schools as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We do this every year. And it also honors the diversity that we have in our district. Is there any discussion?
The usual, love it, glad to see it. Can't wait to hear about all the different MLK activities going on in our district.
Same, yeah.
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
On to minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting minutes of November 20th, 2024, December 11th, 2024, and the work study session of December 11th, 2024 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Okay, internal monitoring report, operating limitations policy 2.5, asset protection. I will entertain a motion to acknowledge that the board has received a monitoring report as of January 15th, 2025 for the period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 of the superintendent concerning board policy 2.5 asset protection, and finds the superintendent's interpretation are reasonable and that his conclusions are reasonably supported by data that is relevant, justified, and complete.
So moved.
Second.
Aye, Ms. Brandt.
All right, thank you very much. So 2.5 is our asset protection board policy. It protects district assets through the following ways. So ensuring the district, maintaining district facilities, equipment, and technology infrastructure. We talk about purchasing policies and practices, intellectual property protection, and approval processes for purchases exceeding $500,000. Our reporting period is July 1st, 2023 for June 30th, 2024. There are 10 kind of sections of Board Policy 2.5, so 2.1 through 2.10. As a little teaser here, spoiler alert, the compliance statement here is the overview for the global policy, and that our district's performance in 2.5 during the monitoring period has complied with all 2.5 policies except 2.5.2. I did put the little language there so you can see, and I'll talk more about this when I get to 2.5.2, but this one relates to the projected cost of our total deferred maintenance, and that it shall not exceed 10% of the total value of the district's facilities replacement costs. I will say that with the passage of the 2024 bond issue, funding is planned to include approximately $248 million of deferred maintenance to be addressed, and we do anticipate compliance in future years. I will give you some more data about current state in the monitoring period when I get to that slide. So 2.5.1 is about shall not fail to insure the district. You can see that in both areas we are compliant with the board policy. Just some data and reminders. Nothing has changed since the last monitoring report, but the district continues to be a member of CIDSIP, so Colorado School District Self-Insurance Pool. We have appropriate policies in place to cover board members, staff, organizations, and we're also insured by Pinnacle Assurance for workers' compensation, and all of our policy limits are consistent with industry standards and similar situated school districts. And that is 2.5.1. For 2.5.2, this is what I discussed, that we are not in compliance with the amount of deferred maintenance as it exceeds the standard in the district policy of 10%. We are at 14% of the cost to replace all district facilities. I will share a little bit more in that realm. So the cost to replace the district facilities is $1.3 billion per our Cost Lab software that we use. We currently have deferred maintenance costs estimated at $190 million, and that is 14.34% of a total value. And this has increased since last year for three primary reasons. One is the inflationary cost increases in construction and equipment. Two is reductions in the useful life levels of some of equipment as we started to align to industry recommendations. And three is increases in quantity of equipment and items that have exceeded their predictable useful life. This is the final year to report data from Cost Lab. We have, for fiscal year 24-25, we will be reporting from the VFA facility software. That is a web-based capital planning management software that we have been implementing over the last year. And deferred maintenance and replacement value costs are anticipated to be different just because there's different methodologies between the two systems. And we look forward to sharing that with you between now and next monitoring report so we can give you kind of what is different. Just some high-level things of examples is the different methodologies is soft costs are included and can be included in VFA. It's also an all-inclusive system-based approach versus individual components. And that Cost Lab is currently individual components. Taking the system-based approach, you'll learn that items were not trackable in Cost Lab that can be trackable in VFA, which does improve our landscape of how we track our elements and protect our assets. So things like irrigation, playgrounds, scoreboards, dugouts, storage buildings, and IT can now be included. So we'll be referencing that as we go through the next fiscal year and learn more about our VFA system. The second part of 2.5.2, so that was deferred costs and deferred maintenance. The second part of 2.5.2 is about the maximum of 3% of projected replacement value in our plant contingency fund. And happy to report we have not exceeded the 3%. I will say that during this monitoring period, $1.4 million was expensed out of the plant contingency fund for the North Stadium track repair that you guys received a decision information report on and was approved by the board. Funds within this plant contingency fund have also not been spent on any non-facility purposes. All right, 2.5.3. This is that we shall not fail to maintain the plant with due care in a manner that ensures facilities are open 99% of the available instructional hours. I will say we are compliant during our monitoring period, but I do want to note two things for you. So as luck would have it, it's Martin Luther King weekend again. Last Martin Luther King weekend, we were also faced with extremely cold weather, and we had a one-day extended closure beyond the district closed days as per the cold weather at Centennial Elementary, and this was related to flooding from a broken pipe. This closure resulted in loss of instructional hours of 6.75, but has remained above the 99% policy standard. We have since made improvements to our cold weather protocols to avoid plant maintenance errors that contributed to this event. We have implemented those, and we are ready for this weekend's cold spell. I will tell you that we do have aging, old infrastructure in our buildings, but we are going to do everything we can to have preventative, proactive, and responsive approach to this weekend. So looking forward to that. And but wanted to share, we do comply with the monitoring period with this standard, but wanted to mention that. The final one that I just want to mention, it doesn't really go with the plant maintenance, but if you'll remember, following the Marshall Fire, there has been Xcel Energy does public safety shutoff periods where with high wind, they might then turn off some power and then re-energize the grid. That did happen to us at Northglenn High School and Northmore Elementary. That did result in reunification and early dismissal for those schools. But like I said, that wasn't something that was due to not maintaining the plant. That was just something I wanted to bring up as we get into the spring. We aren't certain what the weather may bring, but with Xcel Energy, we are tracking that. So we have complied with the standard in 2.5.3. In 2.5.4, shall not fail to maintain equipment and information technology structure with due care. We are compliant with 2.5.4. All of our CDE school transportation vehicle inspections were completed prior to buses transporting students and are compliant with the thresholds of CDE. In addition, we have obtained 99% of uptime for our technology systems. 2.5.5. This is that we shall not make a purchase where we have protections against conflict of interest and material amounts without having obtained comparative pricing and quality. So we are compliant with 2.5.5. We have district policies in place, 3300 all the way to 3340 and 4130 that protect us against conflict of interest and ensure methods and processes. There are no known policy violations, and purchasing was involved in all formal solicitations during this time. 2.5.6 is shall not fail to protect intellectual property from loss or damage. We are compliant, and we have no loss or damage to report for this monitoring period. Some fun facts I think that are interesting that I was able to use to show our compliance here is that out of 325,000 daily inbound and outbound emails, 16% are actually blocked or found to be malicious. So I thought that was a good fact to help us support that we have systems and processes in place where we are catching things and training for our staff around phishing and others. 2.5.7 shall not fail to provide periodic procurement reports to enable board members to monitor purchases. During the monitoring period, we did comply with 2.5.7 and no requests were received. 2.5.8, This is like I mentioned at the beginning, this is we shall not fail to obtain board policy for purchase over $500,000. We did have 3 purchases over $500,000 that were not part of a bond, part of a mill, and or already in the approved budget. And those were all brought to you via decision information report through the monitoring period and approved. And then we also had no asset dispositions in excess of $500,000 as well per 2.5.8.
Just a quick add from me. I had intended earlier today during work study to talk a little bit about bond approvals around architectural engagement, contractor engagement, things of that sort. Ran out of time. Bottom line is, given the language in 2.5.8 that says outside of bond implementation, the expectation is that we bring high-stakes contracts to the board. For bond implementation, our practice last bond was not to do that, and to say if we're going forward with hiring an architect, a general contractor, doing other things, if it was part of the bond plan and we followed our purchasing procedures, instead of having you approve it, we'll notify you. We'll say, here's what we've done and here's who we're planning to engage. I think the first time of doing something in that realm is coming at us soon. I see a meeting tomorrow around, I assume, engaging an architect for Thornton High School. So following our past protocol, we do a memo, probably a page and a quarter, saying, here's the process, here's how many people submitted applications, here are some of the price differentials, here's why we selected this group, and do a summary just so you know this is what we're doing, but we wouldn't plan to bring it here. What we would plan to bring here is if there's additional money that we propose to use for additional projects, then we would come forward and say, we feel like bond premiums come in better than we expected, or costs for the first half of the bond are substantially lower, and now we want to add another story to Washington Square. If we did that, then we would come forward and say, this is our plan, this is our recommendation. There'd be some consultation with LRPAC as well. So I just want to clarify that because we're going to be spending some big money in the months and years ahead, and very little of it is likely to come here. But just from an accountability and oversight standpoint on the really big contracts moving forward, those are things like around Thornton High School that you'll have some notice about.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Gadowski. The last two, 2.5.9 and 2.5.10, are about acquiring property or disposing of property. When we talk about property in this instance, it's real estate. So we shall not acquire property without, as you see the bullets there, in excess of market value and comprehensive build-out plan, et cetera. The district is reporting compliance with this, as we have not acquired property during this monitoring period. If this is something we were to do, we would follow board policy 2.5.9. Same thing with 2.5.10, we shall not relinquish property without assurance that the value received is considered to be at market value, and that the condition and relinquish property if conditions cause remaining property to have an economic disadvantage or pose hazards. So we are compliant with 2.5.10 as the district did not relinquish any property during the monitoring period. That concludes the monitoring report. Any questions?
Any questions?
I have a question going back to Cost Lab and the VFA. If I remember correctly, when the auditors, the external auditors came in, they said something around IT and needing to, or potentially adding IT to how and what we audit.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is part of the reason why we moved from Cost Lab to VFA because they can track for those sorts of things, or what was the impetus behind that?
I'm not certain if that was the only reason. I would have to ask Margie more. They went through this about 2 years ago into selecting the system, and then they started a year ago, more than a year ago, into the implementation of the system. But yes, that is one of the functionalities that will be beneficial to us as a district. Any feedback on that, Chris, that you might have?
Just simple, Simon, Superintendent, has the notion that we felt like this was better. But I can't tell you more about the specifics. We can certainly get you some answers on that.
And I will. I'll definitely do that.
So was this a surprise when it came up with the 14% number, or was it expected?
it was expected. Last year, we were non-compliant in this area as well at 12%, and it was expected. With the passage of the bond, we are anticipating, as we looked at our numbers, that we feel that we'll be in compliance next year.
Anything else?
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Amira was going for that button. I thought so too. All right, consent. Thank you, Ms. Brandt, for hanging in here. This is one of the later meetings we've had. I know you have to go a long ways. Consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the personal actions as listed, resignations and terminations, transfers and reassignments, employment, and leaves of absence.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Okay, our next meeting is February 5th. Amir and I will be rolling in from DC that day.
Oh, yeah, we will.
And then on the 10th, we have our annual meeting with DTA, so we'll need to dig those questions out and look at them and run them by Dave and Steve and find out the details of where we're meeting. Anything else anybody needs to add for the good of the order? Okay, we're adjourned.